All right, boys and girls. So Odysseus killed a stag, and the men had a feast, and they're just feeling a little bit better. Here comes chapter 3, The Witch's Spell. All afternoon, Odysseus and his crew feasted on deer meat and wine. When the sun set and darkness covered the island, they lay down on the shore and slept peacefully. At dawn, Odysseus roused his men. "Friends, I do not know where we are," he said. "I only know that we are on an island. Yesterday morning, when I went hunting, I climbed a hill and saw the sea all around us. I know that others live here, for I saw smoke rising from the heart of the forest." But before Odysseus could go on, his men cried out. They feared that more horrors like the Cyclops and the cannibal giants might await them on this strange shore. "Harness your fears," Odysseus commanded. "We have no choice but to explore this island. We know not where we are or how to find our home. We must seek help from strangers." Odysseus is quite the leader, isn't he? Maybe leader is a character trait that you gave Odysseus yesterday. It'd be a good one. Odysseus's men paid no heed to his words. They only grew more anxious. Before they surrendered completely to their terror, Odysseus came up with a plan. "Listen to me," he said. "We will form two groups. I will be captain of one, and brave Eurylochus will be captain of the other." Odysseus quickly divided his men. 22 Greeks were placed under his own command, and 22 under that of his trusted warrior, Eurylochus. "Now Eurylochus and I will cast lots to see which of us will explore the island," said Odysseus. Odysseus and Eurylochus cast lots in a helmet. The lot fell upon Eurylochus. He had no choice but to lead his men into the heart of the green forest. With great dismay, 22 Greeks lined up behind Eurylochus. Some wept as they marched away through the shadowy trees, fearing their impending death. The Greeks who stayed behind wept as well. So many of their friends had already been slain that they readily imagined they might soon lose more. Hour after hour, Odysseus waited for the return of Eurylochus and his band of men. He watched the shadows of the forest and listened for their voices. He feared he might have made a great mistake by forcing them to set out on their quest. But he dared not share his fears with the men who had remained behind. Why would he not want to share his fears with the men who stayed behind with him? Probably doesn't want them scared, right? Sometimes when people are really afraid, they don't make the best decisions. So he's trying to keep them calm. As the sun was setting over the island, Odysseus finally heard the tramping of feet. Eurylochus burst from the trees. He was alone. His eyes were wide with terror. Odysseus and the others rushed forward to hear his story, but Eurylochus collapsed on the ground, shaking and moaning, unable to speak. Odysseus grabbed him by the shoulders and pulled him to his feet. "Where are the others?" he cried. "Why did you leave them?" Eurylochus could not answer. Odysseus shook him again. "Tell us," he demanded. "Are they dead?" "No, not dead," said Eurylochus. Worse than dead." He broke down weeping. Ooh, as a reader, right now I'm like, what could be worse than dead? Were you thinking the same thing? Good readers ask questions like that while they read. "Tell us what happened," Odysseus demanded again. In a shaky voice, Eurylochus told his tale. "We traveled through the forest until we came to a valley. We saw a gleaming stone wall. We stepped through a gate into a clearing and soon came face to face with huge wolves and mountain lions with long, sharp claws." "You were attacked by these wild creatures?" Odysseus asked. Eurylochus shook his head. "They did not attack us," he said. "The wolves licked us and whined like pet dogs. The lions gently pawed us and mewed like house cats. It was strange and unnatural. We should have turned back." Eurylochus trembled and covered his face, but Odysseus shook him again. Go on with your tale, he ordered. Tell us what happened next. Eurylochus continued. We were frightened to be greeted so strangely by these creatures, he said. We moved quickly past them to the inner courtyard of a palace. A voice rang out from a window, a woman singing. She had the most beautiful voice I have ever heard. Who was she? Asked Odysseus. I do not know, said Eurylochus. When we peered through the window, we saw a radiant being weaving at a loom. She looked like a goddess. She had long braids that shone in the sunlight. Her gown was made of jewels that seemed to change color as she sang. She wove a cloth made from the finest, most delicate silken thread. I wanted to lead us away at once, for I thought of all the terrible dangers we had faced on our journey, but I alone seemed worried. The others called out to her, and she came to the door and invited them in. I held back, hiding, while they rushed forward to enter her home. I could not stop them. They followed her into the house, and she closed the door behind them. Peering secretly through a window, I saw her offer them food and wine. Then she turned her back on them, and she mixed a potion of pale honey and wine. As she poured this into their food, I called out to warn them. I feared she was trying to drug them, but the men seemed not to hear. They swallowed her potion willingly. In an instant, they were transformed. They knew not where they were or how they'd gotten there. They could not remember one another's names or even their own. While they were in this state, the woman tapped each of them with a wand, and suddenly Eurylochus trembled at the memory. He hid his face, and a chill went through Odysseus. What horrible thing had the witch done to his men? Eurylochus looked up at Odysseus. He caught his breath, then finished his dreadful tale. Bristles sprang out all over each man's body, he said. They began to snort and grunt like pigs. Their heads turned into pigs' heads. The Greeks cried out and drew back in horror. The enchantress then herded the pigmen into a pigsty, Eurylochus said. She threw acorns and butternuts to the ground, and they greedily gobbled them up like swine in a farmyard. For a long moment, Odysseus stared at Eurylochus in silence. Finally, he spoke calmly and decisively. Take me there, he said. Show me the way. Eurylochus cried out in anguish. He threw himself at Odysseus's feet and begged for his life. No, no, never again, he cried. Let us escape this cursed island now, before the she-monster bewitches us all. Odysseus saw that he could not calm Eurylochus's fears, but neither could he abandon his comrades trapped in the pigsty of the beautiful witch. Very well, stay here and rest with the others, he said. In truth, I am the leader of all the Greeks on this island. I must save my men. I will find the way alone. Again, we see so much bravery from Odysseus. He's made some bad mistakes, but I still think he's a pretty great leader. On the next slide, I want you to tell me one reason that you think Odysseus is either a great leader or a terrible leader. Your pick, but you have to explain your reasoning. All right, I'll see you back here tomorrow, and we'll find out what happens when Odysseus finds his pigmen. See you then.